Hello everyone. So we're going to start with the last topic for chapter number 1. The name of the topic is reverse mapping of business strategies from marketplace using data analytics. Okay, so let's start. Okay, first of all, let's review what the concept is. Okay, now they're going to start with the balance scorecard. Okay, there are four aspects of balance scorecard. Okay, the first aspect is the financial aspect. Okay, second aspect is the customer perspective. Third is learning and growth perspective. And then the fourth comes is the internal process. Okay, now, so as per the traditional aspect, okay, traditional जब हम as per the old ways of running the business, they used to say if in a company we are taking care of all the four aspects, such as the financial aspect means the profit, means the net profit ratio, means adding new profitable customers, keeping old profitable customers. That is looking business from the financial aspect. Okay, customer aspect means exceeding the expectation. Whatever is the customer's expectation, but we are giving them more than that. Learning and growth in a company, the employees should be well trained and they should have advanced updation on all the things they're working in. And the last one was the internal process. Internal process means maybe quality error, there might be only 0.009 or one time delivery. Okay, taking care of all such internal process. Okay, so earlier they used to say we need to take care of all the four aspects in the business. Okay, but the modern ways say that we need to take care of the balance scorecard but along with some strategy map. Now, what does the strategy map mean? It means we cannot divide the business into four parts. I'll take care of the financial aspect, you take care of the customer. No. All the four parts, that is the financial perspective, the customer perspective, learning and growth perspective, and internal process. All these process should be linked to each other. So whenever we are doing a strategic implementation, okay, any person who is responsible for implementing a strategy, for example for Maggie, for example for Nanny, has to not divide the company into four parts. It has to link the financial, the customer, the learning and growth along with the strategic implementation. But why? Why there is a need to link all the four aspects is the reason is to have a complete view of the business. Otherwise, what will happen to make the customer happy? We are expensing a huge amount of money on advertisement, or we are advancing a huge amount of money on brand ambassador. But because of which the financial aspect has gone into negative. Your gross profit ratio is less than what was expected. If we divide the company into four parts, then we do not get the holistic view of the entire company. These are the important words which are present in the model. So everyone be careful with this word. Okay. So for the purpose of having a holistic view, it is very important that we are linking all to each other along with systematic strategic implementation so that we have the holistic. Thus it is said, once we do what? Once we are doing the strategic mapping, then in a company along with strategic implementation, we also do mapping of all the aspects. It will always create value to the business. Creating value to the business means the profit margins will be good, the customers will be good, the learning process in the company will be good, the internal process will have a good result. Okay, so this is the introduction of what? This is the introduction of balance scorecard. But earlier they used to focus only on balance scorecard, dividing the company into four parts. But now they say we need to focus on what? Strategic mapping of the balance scorecard. Strategic mapping of all the four aspects of the company has to be taken care of so that we get the holistic view of the company. Okay, chalo, let's start. So initially these are the old methods. Okay, initially they used to say that some managers used to focus on financial plans, some managers used to focus on HR plan, some managers used to focus on different aspects of the company. So here it is written. Now, some managers labeled strategy by their financial plans, some by the quality of the product, some by the human resource, some depends upon customer orientation. Thus, every manager will have a different viewpoint and they will make the strategy according to it. But the study noted that few managers approach it from a holistic perspective. Okay, few managers they told no, all the factors are very important. I will focus on HR also, I will focus on quality of product also, I will focus on delivery also, I will focus on financial also. But because you were trying to follow so many aspects that your strategy was not a focused strategy and it might lead to the fail. So what happens? But few managers they follow which approach, holistic approach, and because of which it leads to the strategic fail. And thus, in 2000, there were 5 crucial parts were given, which are very important for making holistic strategy, but it has to be focused organization. Strategy should be holistic. All the factors should be taken into consideration, but your focus should be towards 1 or 2 factors only, which might lead to performance improvement. Thus, in the introduction paragraph, they are saying few managers focus on 1 factor, few managers focus on 2 factors, but the managers who focus on multiple factors, sometimes it leads to the failure. And for them, it is important that yes, you need to have a holistic strategy, but it should be what focus to only the organization. Okay, जो organization में तुम काम कर रहे हो, it should be what? It should be focus. So what are the 5 points? Basic. Whatever strategy you have made on paper, try to convert it into operational terms. If you are telling in a month we will produce 1 lakh tons of the product, but check whether it is operationally possible. If you are planning for triple shift, are the employees ready for triple shift? You will need to check. The translation of strategy into operational terms. Okay, whatever strategy you are making, the entire company should be in line with the strategy. Okay, it cannot happen only the finance department or only the production department is saying this. Has to be the whole organization who is ready to work as per the strategy. And then checking whether you are able to transform the strategy, whether the employees on everyday basis are they ready to work as per it. And definitely strategy is a continuous process and it will always require good leadership. जो first 3 points है वो क्या है? Strategy ऐसी बनाओ that it can be converted into operational terms. Strategy ऐसी बनाओ that can be followed by the whole organization or the whole organization is updated about the strategy and transforming the strategy into day-to-day basis. Okay, strategy is not something which we check after 2 years whether it is done or not. Strategy is something which has to be applied on daily basis. And the last 2 points are that definitely this needs to be done continuously and for this you need a very good leadership. And in earlier days for this people used to follow balanced scorecard approach. Okay. Now these factors we have already studied in the introduction. Let's just read it out. Okay, everyone is reading with me. Develop a balanced scorecard where there are 4 perspectives. One is the financial perspective. Second is the customer perspective. Fourth is the internal perspective. Third is the internal and the fourth one is the learning and growth. Okay, we were aware about this. But then a new concept came which was known as the strategic map. Strategic map is not a different concept. Strategic mapping is developed on the basis of 4 perspectives of the balanced scorecard. Strategic mapping concept came into existence to map what? To map balanced score. Many of the students they feel that strategic mapping is a different concept and balanced scorecard is a different. Balanced scorecard was first and then strategic mapping concept came and tried to link all the points of the balanced score. And thus, what does the strategic mapping do? It helps us to visualize the entire strategy of an organization. Strategic map बोलता है do not divide the company into 4 parts. There are 4 parts, but visualize all these 4 parts as one. Okay. See what important point is what are the cause effects. For the example which we have discussed now, for example, we are telling you need to expense a lot on customer perspective. But the effect of that is the profit margins are going down. Or the effect of that is because the profit margins are going down, the budgets are going down, and as the budgets are going down, the internal process of the company is getting weak day by day. So strategic mapping क्या करेगा? It will visualize the entire company as one. It will study the cause-effect relationship, and thus a strategic map will always create value for the organization. Here you're doing what? Here you're designing the map along with good implementation, and so that the manager will always get what? So that the manager will always get a holistic view. So strategic mapping is 3 points. Strategic mapping was developed because of balanced scorecard concept. It takes into consideration the entire organization. Here you're not only designing, but designing के साथ you're doing good implementation so that you can get a complete holistic view. And thus it will always create value for the organization. And so here there are 4 perspectives written, but all the 4 perspectives are not divided. They are properly linked. So they are telling finding new customers, but there has to be what? Profitable growth. But customers will be happy only when we give them what? Only when we give them on-time delivery, then internal processes and the learning process. And thus again the similar point, it helps us in visualization, telling us the cause-effect relationship. It is one of the most powerful elements of the balance scorecard, and it will always and always create that. It is thus we can say that the strategic mapping is what conceptually a part of DSC and the 4th step in the 9-step implementation development of the strategic map. 9 steps because these are the 9 different steps. Okay. Okay, so first part of this is done. That is linking the balance scorecard with what? With the strategic mapping. Now, next concept, now they are talking about, there are 2 parts. Okay. One concept is known as the forward looking concept. Okay. And the other concept is known as the reverse concept. Okay, let's have a look. Now, what do you mean by the forward? Forward means, first of all, we are starting with the end part. We are having a forward approach. What is our end part? End part is that, for example, I want to get 25% profit margin. That is establishing your last objective, जिसको achieve करने के लिए 2 साल लगते हैं. Okay, which can be what? 25% of the profit, which can be 90% of the market share. Okay, end. For achieving the end task, okay, for achieving your objective, there has to be, you will do what? Ma'am, we will develop strategy according to that. Correct? So these are the ways to achieve. But for developing the strategy, you will do what? You will always put resource. Right? Only then we can achieve our resources to use. This is going to be what? This is going to be your use. So what does a forward strategy mean? Forward strategy means what? We are going to the last part, that is the end part, which is known as establishing objective. Then what are the different ways that we will develop strategy. But how we will achieve this way? By putting the resource. Thus here, if you see, the customers are always going to be the end part of any value chain. Delivering the customer. This is somewhat an old approach, okay, traditional approach. But traditionally, if you see, the products were not made as per the customer. There was no customization. Now the customization has increased, okay, and they used to fail to understand the complex requirement of the customer. Okay, and forward approach is an approach which is a top-down approach. What does a top-down approach mean? Top-down approach means manager will tell, you will wear. There will not be any involvement. Okay, but the problem here is top management will never meet customer. But the bottom management, because it is going and selling the product, it is having interaction with the customers and it knows what are the points of the customer. But the top management, what are they telling? You don't speak anything. I will. Top down means the top manager will directly give the order. So this is the traditional approach where what is happening, you are starting with the end and then you're coming back. So they say in the modern scenario, nowadays it is preferable to have what? It is preferable to have a reverse. Okay, this reverse strategy is actually actually acting as a counter attack on all the old ways of doing business. They follow which approach? The name of the approach is the bottom up approach. Bottoms up approach means what? Because the bottom manager is going in the market and selling the product, or because bottom manager is having some kind of interaction with the customer, what is the manager going to say? First, you speak, give me the feed, give me the information, and then I will take the decision. Okay, give me the feed, give me the information about the customer. What does a customer need? What are the requirements of customer? First, you give me the list, I will analyze the list, and then I will give. And thus, what is happening? Here, you always use data. Okay, the bottom manager will give you 5% people are needing this, 10% people are needing this, 25% people are rejecting it, 30% people, for example. So here what you do, here the top management will get the data, and with the data it will do what? It will do systematic analysis of the data. After doing the systematic analysis, it will make the product accordingly, and once the products are being made as per the customer only, and therefore there will be a performance improvement. But in the old ways, the problem was what? That those data was not customer focused. You were not asking the customer. You were setting your objective. I want to capture 90% of the market forward. But you don't know that 90% of the customer, do they want to take your product? You don't know that. So that is the forward customer, which was not successful because you were not taking feed from the customer. You were making strategy as what you want. So then in the modern scenario, that is in the today's scenario where we can pull the data from the customer, there are various ways of pulling the data, okay, via internet, via asking them to fill the form, organizing various functions for them from where we can get information. And that concept is known as the what? That concept is known as the reverse methodology, where you gather the information from them, you do the systematic analysis, then take the decision, and because of which we get performance increase. Okay, so this is the basics of the next part which we're going to start. That is the strategy. It should be forward or it should be a reverse strategy. Okay, let's start. Now, the forward strategy, that is in the green color, always starts with the concept of end, ways and means. End, ways and means what? First they set the end, then the way, and then they set the means. So end is what? End is setting the objective. Ways is what? Ways is developing a strategy. How you will achieve it? By putting the resources into implementing the strategy. So this was the old way of doing the business. Okay, but it suffers a huge amount of lacking. Okay, though these are robust arguments about the traditional model, yet it suffers various uncertainty in the ever-changing business environment. Earlier, the environment was changing less, but now the requirement of the customer changes every minute, or changes every day, or changes every month. Earlier, what used to happen 5 years, people used to use the same product and they used to not need any form of upgradation. But nowadays, the business environment is changing. Because the business environment is changing, the forward approach sometimes acts as a failure. Why does it act as a failure? Now, I'll just tell you. Why? Because here you fail to understand the customers. Because the customers are the end. Now, we are starting because customers are the end value chain in the traditional, but it fails to appreciate this end. In the traditional way, managers used to not understand what does a customer need, and therefore reverse mapping is an alternative model to the traditional end, ways and means model. Okay, which counter attacks all the logic of the tradition. Reverse model बोलता है कि you have considered the market as very simple, that I want to acquire 90%, you are setting your objective as 90%, you are making strategy, you are putting resources. But this is so simple because the market is not simple. The business environment is going to be very complex, and therefore the concept of reverse mapping came into existence. Thus, reverse mapping of a business strategy is considered as an alternative to this means where there is a use, where you do not use which approach, where you do not use top-down. Reverse mapping is a bottom-down approach. Why bottom-down approach? There was one with important word because you get feed from it. Where the feed is received from the customer, which is one of the epitome of strategic formula. So first what is important is to get the information from the customer. Once you get information from the customer, then start the process of strategic formulation. This is the new way of what? New way of doing strategy. Now, one of the successful examples of this would be, okay, we'll look into one example. Let's start. So ideally what used to happen? Initially when cold drink business or initially when the shampoo business was launched in our country, or we can say, I'll take example of Coca-Cola. Okay, directly they launched big bottle, okay, which costed for around, I think, rupees 20, or big shampoo which costed for around rupees 200 or rupees 400 in our country. The problem was what? All the rich class people were able to buy, but the middle class people or the student crowd, they were not able to afford this 200, 400 expense in 1 month. Okay, I know you, if you purchase a 200 rupees bottle, you will use it for 5, 6 months. But the people who are, on rent basis, or the middle class people, it was very difficult for them. Then, bottom, with the help of the bottom up approach, a survey was being done and feed was collected from the customer. Customer said because it is very expensive. In 1 week, we can spend 2 rupees on a shampoo. And like that, we can spend every week. But we cannot spend together 200 rupees. And because of which 2 rupees sachet shampoo was implemented in our country. And the sale increased like crazy. Because earlier the shampoo was only being taken by the higher class people, but now because the sachets were available, in a breakdown, even the middle class or the lower middle class people were able to take the shampoo. Same was the case of Coca-Cola when it was launched in our country. Coca-Cola analyzed the market, used the bottoms-up approach, went to the market, took the feed from the market, and it realized that the rural area cannot spend 20 rupees. That time Amir Khan was made as a brand ambassador and a 5 rupees bottle was launched of Coca-Cola. So that even the normal middle class people can expense out 5 rupees at one point, but they cannot expense out 20 rupees together. This is the concept of what? Reverse mapping. This is the concept of bottoms up approach. This is the concept of what you're taking the data and then you're trying to analyze the. So this is just the caselet 2 where they have talked about the shampoo itself. Thus, there was an observation. It was based that it was very difficult for the people to purchase 100 ml or 200 ml bottle. And then they started packaging the talcum powder into small sachets with 22% increase in the market share. Only behind Hindustan Unilever, because what happened, you understood the market and then you made the product, that is fine. And thus here the strategy is what? Here the strategy is formed on the basis of customer preferences, which was in contradiction to the end base means model. एंड बेस मीन्स मॉडल अपने हिसाब से स्ट्रैटेजी बनाता था, लेकिन रिवर्स मॉडल क्या करता है, वो डेटा कलेक्ट करने के बाद स्ट्रैटेजी बनाता है. एंड व्हेन यू आर कलेक्टिंग द डेटा फ्रॉम द customer means you're doing some form of analytics, and that concept is known as using of what? Business analytics. What do you mean by the word business analytics? We are collecting a huge amount of data from the market, then we are doing business analytics, and then we are deciding what should be a strategic formula. So if you look into this paragraph only talks about the part. What does it talk? It talks about using the data as at the disposal of the company. Here, a huge amount of data will be collected, and that will be the reason for the success of your company. Because of reverse mapping, there has not been a 1% improvement or 2%. There has been a leaps and bounds of improvement. Leaps and bounds means what? multiple level of improvement when the business analytics is used to capture the feed from the market. Here what you are doing, using analytics, you are taking the feed from the market and then you are making strategy, and this has led to leaps and bounds of success. And irrespective of the size, this concept can be used by everyone. That is what capturing the data from the market. Like what is here? What are we doing here? We are capturing the data and using them for the purpose of performance improvement. And thus the main goal of business analytics is to extract meaningful insights from the data that an organization can use to its decision. Thus the basics, if ये paper में आता है कि what are the basics of business analytics, the answer to this is business analytics is taking the feed, using the data to the organization disposal, making good insights from the data so that it can do proper strategic management, so that it can do good strategic formulation. Are we using this? Then here are the few examples. One of the basic examples is budgeting and forecasting. Budget we are making for the future, and forecasting also we are doing of the future. But how are we doing this? First we are taking the data. हम historical data ले रहे हैं. On the basis of the historical data, we are identifying what was our expense, what was our revenue, and then we are creating the budget and the forecast. Accordingly, we are doing different form of investment. This can be only done with the help of analytics. This can be only done when you are collecting information from the market. Okay? Thus, identifying the budget and investment required to make those goals a reality. So, whatever were your goals, on that basis, you have done budgeting and forecasting and then product development, but developing the product not on what you want, developing the product on the basis of what the customer needs, and thus it helps the product development. Why? Because we have taken the data from the customer, we have taken what design they need, what technology they need, what does the customer need, and accordingly you have developed your product. You are doing marketing and sales on the basis of what number of leads. We have done market analysis, we have got the leads. Leads means what? How much percentage of the market people are ready to take a product. We have got those leads, and then on the basis of those leads, we are making an effort to sell our product. We are not selling our product by closing our eyes and just we are product producing and selling. No. First, we are taking lead from the market, and as per the lead, we are selling a product. As per the customization required by the customer, we are selling it. And then comes is last is the risk management. Because you're doing forecasting, because you're doing product analysis, you are doing a proper cost-effective recommendation so that you can mitigate the risk. You're not closing your eyes and doing expenses. यहाँ पे आप लोग क्या कर रहे हो? You're doing the expenses on the basis of proper analysis. Thus, whatever recommendation will be done here, it will be what? Cost-effective. So, business analytics is used for what? Analytics, using the data for what? For budgeting, for product development, for marketing, for the purpose of mitigating the risk. And for this, we need to analyze the data. What are the ways of analyzing the data? Okay, the last part for the chapter. There are 4 parts for analyzing the data. One analysis is descriptive analysis. Descriptive means reading a theory and then analyzing. Descriptive analysis. Second is diagnostic, going into detail of every part, that is known as the diagnostic analysis. Predictive, going to the history, analyzing 5 years data and then predicting next 5 years, that is known as the predictive analysis. And the fourth part is the prescriptive, what action needs to be taken as per the prescription given. So just remember the word, it's very easy. If you read the word descriptive, what does the word descriptive mean? Here you are examining some theory, description, you are examining some data and then you are doing the analysis. Diagnostic means what? Going deeper than what was being done in just reading, that was being done in description. Predictive means refers the historical data, referring the past trends and assumptions and then answering the question. That means then doing the prediction accordingly. And the fourth part is the prescriptive part. Prescriptive means taking the action. Identifies the specific action an individual or an organization should take. Thus, all the above 4 prescriptive analytics is specially relatable to achievement of strategic goals. Why? Because in prescriptive analysis, you take what, we take action. And therefore, the last point is what? Whenever we are doing prescriptive analysis, it means we are doing what? Strategic implementation. It means we are trying to achieve what? We are trying to achieve our strategic goal. But the four issues of the business analytics are such packaged together to capture the data from the business environment, including market. So they are telling, but all the four need to be done together. All the four will help us in doing what? Business analytics. Okay, so let's conclude business analytics once again. Let's revise it once again. Business analytics means taking the data from the market, analyzing it to the benefit of an organization. But what do we do from this? What do we do from the data which we get from the market? We are trying to do budget. We are trying to do product development as per the market. We are trying to mitigate the risk. We are trying to do the marketing and sales as per this. But how do we gather the data from the market? This can be done by descriptive, just reading bare text about some of the data, or having a detail that is going into diagnostic, or going into historical data which is known as predictive, and the last part is the prescriptive model. And thus, as I said, this model was actually used by the user. Diagnostic means what? It tried to analyze in this area at 6 o'clock, went detail. At 6 p.m., there is a huge cab required. It went deeper and it understood that here there is one IT park. So Uber क्या करता है? On the basis of this, it will take care that there are multiple amounts of Uber available in that area around 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. There will be high demand will be created because availability, because the supply of the Uber will also be there, and then they will say because of high demand the rate are 2x. So what did they do? They did a descriptive analysis of the historical data. Okay, they did descriptive analysis. Okay, here there is an IT park, but then they went deeper that because here there is an IT park, it means there will be huge requirement, and then they went into the diagnosis. And then on the basis of the predictive model or the prescriptive model, they did the prediction of the historical data and they tried to decide the price where the customer was ready to pay between 100 to 300. And on this basis, price mechanism was decided. That is, action was taken, and therefore your word is given on predictive and prescriptive basis. And thus Uber model is considered one of the most successful order where they go to the market, check the requirement. Okay, in this area there is a huge requirement, there is a huge search. They try to match the demand and supply. Accordingly, they increase the prices, and because of this, they are able to cost. And the places where the requirement is very less, there they will send less Uber. Less Uber drivers will be rotating in that area. The prices will be low, but they will be able to earn profit from where? From where there is a huge search. This is known as the reverse match. Okay, that's for today. We have started with the balance scorecard. Then we linked balance scorecard with the strategic map. Then we said, is the forward mapping a good concept or reverse mapping is a good concept? Thus, forward mapping is a traditional concept. Reverse mapping is a new concept still in process of implementation. And in reverse mapping, we use what? We use business analytics, or we use data analytics where we try to understand the data. So here we are done with the first part where we started with performance analytics, then with the supply chain management, P2P cycle, order to cash cycle, the credit rating cycle, and the last important concept was the reverse mapping that was using business. Okay, that's done for the day. Thank you so much.